as you can see, I'm basically out of adjustment.
Oh, so that's a left or right?
Yeah, and then you can twist it. There's a key that comes in the tool that you can raise and lower. Yeah, I mean these are easier. These you adjust, the windage adjusts here, and then yeah, isn't that loud? Feel the air coming at you. And then elevation you adjust on the front. And it's different for every gun. Just push straight down. You don't even have to slide in, just push straight down.
Oh, just straight down.
It goes right in. If I had no hat, my hair would be blowing. And it's cheap to shoot. That's the thing about AKs. They're cheap to shoot bullet-wise.
Oh, yeah, you would tell me.
He's reloading. But ergonomically, the AKs aren't as efficient. And you can see the flash coming out of that.
Yeah. Too much heat, Ryan. Feel the heat.
Big white flash is ridiculous. The good news is he'll tire out quick. But I bought a couple of ARs thinking, you know, when I first started this, I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was like, well, it wasn't of a high quality. Oh, he's about to shoot that big guy again.
My arms are getting tired. My face is getting tired.
I would be tired too after shooting that thing. And it's heavier too than this AK. Significantly heavier. Because the bullet's so much larger.
Hold on a second.
Because the bullet is so much larger, the receiver are thicker to accommodate the energy. Look how it punches. Both these guys are shooting. Look how it punches the steel. He's shooting at me. When we hit, it barely moved, right?
You killed that thing! You hit that baby.
I gotta show my boys that
shit. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to my first AK platform rifle review. Today I'm going to be talking about the 16.5-inch barreled VEPR for when you want to turn the obnoxiousness up to 11. Before I talk about the background of the rifle, I want to talk about my rifle's current configuration because, and I will be the first to admit this, in my rifle's current state, it's quite the abomination with the factory wood furniture stock and the Magpul MOE handguard held in place by the Canis adapters. And what I really like about the Canis adapters is you don't have to make any permanent modifications to the gun to use the MOE handguards. I can go back to the factory wood handguard in maybe 5 minutes, but you can use any standard MOE handguard that's for an AR mid-length gas system. You just have to cut out the top so that the gas tube can fit within them. And what else do I have? Yes, I do have this muzzle brake that looks like it belongs on a 50 cal. I got this from eBay, and it's made of aluminum, so there is some erosion starting to set in already. This is not my final muzzle brake. I'm looking at one by Carolina Shooter Supply. There is the Lantac Dragon that comes in the AK-14x1 left-hand thread, but it's a little pricey at $140. But the Carolina Shooter Supply muzzle brake looks to be pretty effective at its $60 price point. But you don't necessarily have to get a 14x1 left-handed muzzle brake. You could just get an adapter so that you can use any 5/8x24 308 muzzle brake, but I'm getting a little sidetracked. The optic that I have on the gun is the Weaver 1.5/6 zombie themed scope. this is really just a stopgap until I get my final optic in. I'm looking at a Citron 1 through 7 scope, or maybe even an Aimpoint PRO. The mount that I have for the optic is the UTG Pro AK mount. It attaches just like any AK side rail optic mount would, and at its attachment point, it was pretty rigid. I'm trying really hard to flex it at its attachment point, and any actual flex is you see the receiver is flexing against the stock and the handguard. So I think the fit is very tight and rock solid, and the alignment is so good that you could look through the notches on the rail and still see the front sight post through your rear sight. Probably not going to be able to see this on camera. No, I can't get it so that you can see it on camera. But the factory sights are similar to the ones that you would find on an AK. If you have an AK sight tool, you can use that to adjust the VEPR front sight. The rear sight is adjustable for long distance, and it's adjustable for windage. So that's all there is to say about the current configuration of the rifle. Now on to the rifle's background, history, and my design choices. Oh, I should mention, I use mostly SGM tactical 10-round magazines. These have worked fine, except it had one failure to feed on my first range trip when I was using surplus, but I don't shoot surplus anymore. I shoot these 185 grain rounds from Monarch, which is PPU's house brand for Academy Sports and Outdoors. We don't have any around here. They're located mostly in the South, but I just order these from their store. And the magazines feed heavy bullets just fine. The factory ones are 5-rounders, and they are also good to go. VEPR is the Russian, or is it the Ukrainian word? It's one of those two countries where it's for wild boar. They're made by the Molat factory, and they're imported to the United States by Wolf in California. It's the same Wolf that imports the Russian steel-cased ammo. VEPRs are made for the civilian market and jurisdictions where owning weapons with military features aren't allowed. That's why there's a thumb hole stock, so there's no pistol grip, there's no bayonet lug, there's no cleaning rod, even though that's not necessarily an evil feature. And the muzzle from the factory comes with a thread protector that's been pinned and welded on, but it takes all of 3 minutes with a Dremel or a grinding tool to remove the thread protector, so you can put on any 14x1 left-hand threaded muzzle device. Even though the VEPR is technically an AK platform rifle, it is not legally an AK because it doesn't have any major parts that exchange with the AKs, RBKs, or Dragunovs, and that's an important distinction, at least for us in Maryland, because AKs, RPKs, and Dragunov variants are banned in Maryland, but VEPR and Saiga variants are good to go though. VEPRs are different from a standard AK in that they're built off of modified RPK receivers. Most VEPR receivers will have a slanted back so that you can't attach a regular AK stock without modifying the AK stock first. There are also aftermarket adapters so that you can attach an AR stock, and thinking forward, that's probably going to be my next upgrade to this rifle, is upgrading to the CTR stock with a cheek riser so I can get a better cheek weld on my optic instead of just having a chin weld. And I did mention that the muzzle brake was beginning to erode, so I'm probably going to upgrade. Wait, I already talked about that. Never mind. Moving on. Yeah, they're built off of RPK receivers, and RPK receivers aren't milled, but they are reinforced stamped receivers in that they have 1.5 millimeter thick walls as opposed to the 1 millimeter thick walls of the regular AK. Also, the gas system and the stroke of the piston is slightly longer than that on an AK, so because of the long stroking piston, you'll see this dust cover. Can the camera resolve that? But yeah, that's a plastic dust cover. Doesn't affect cycling or performance in any way. The barrel is a much heavier profile than that found on AKs and RPKs. It's cold hammer forged and chrome lined. VEPRs have been in the United States for several years, but they took a renewed public interest when the Kalashnikov ban happened, because a lot of prospective buyers kept inquiring whether the VEPRs were affected by the ban or not. Importers held on to their products, so there was scarcity for a while. But rest assured, VEPRs are not affected by the Obama sanction and are still being imported, although sparingly. Distributors and retailers are only releasing a few of them at a time for sale because they want to create the illusion of artificial scarcity to keep interest and prices high. I don't want to talk about how much I paid for mine because I paid an inflated price, but the good price for a VEPR right now is under $700 for an intermediate caliber like 7.62x39 and under $900 for a full power caliber. The VEPR comes in a variety of calibers, like I mentioned, 7.62x39, but it also comes in 5.56, 5.45x39, 308 Winchester, 7.62x54r, and even 12 gauge. It also comes in more barrel lengths. The 7.62x39 variant I have comes in a 16-inch, 20-inch, 23-inch, and a 27-inch barrel variants. So why did I go with the 16-inch barrel instead of one of the much longer barrel lengths? Well, I wanted my VEPR to be in more of a battle rifle configuration as opposed to a DMR or a sniper rifle. A distinction between what is a battle rifle and what is a DMR is that a battle rifle is designed for regular service and all-around performance instead of the specialized roles of a DMR or a sniper. Most times, but not always, battle rifles will have shorter barrels and lower power optics than their DMR or sniper counterparts. The most prominent era of the modern battle rifle was the early Cold War with the HKG-3 American M14 and the FN-FAL as the most widely fielded battle rifles of the NATO countries, and you had the Dragunov and its variants as the battle rifle counterpart for the Warsaw Pact countries, although technically the Dragunov was used more as a sniper or a DMR. The battle rifle concept has gained a little bit more traction with the success of the SCAR 17 and its 16-inch barrel, but buying a VEPR in 7.62x54r in 20 or 23 inches is a good choice for building a DMR, but the 27-inch barrel VEPR might be one you should consider staying away from because the long barrel would have more flex than the shorter barrels and you would get slightly worse groupings. Surplus rounds were optimized for performance out of long-range barrels, but modern rounds fare just fine out of 20 or 23-inch barrels for effective performance out to 800 yards, or maybe I should say 1,000 arshins in keeping with the Russian theme. I wanted a VEPR in 7.62x54r because I still had a lot of surplus rounds lying around that I shot out of my Mosin Nagant. And the 7.62x54r is one of the oldest calibers still in military use. It's used by the PKP Pecheneg machine gun. The rim of the cartridge is the most distinctive part. The bolt headspaces on the rim when it pushes it against the chamber. Advances in modern manufacturing have eliminated the need for rimming in cartridges for headspacing because manufacturing tolerances have improved. So you won't see rimming on modern cartridge designs except for revolvers. But the 7.62x54r is one of the most heavily studied cartridges in history just due to how long it's been around and how many people bought cheap Mosins and cheap tins of surplus ammo to shoot. It has terminal performance between the comparable American cartridges like the 308 Winchester and the 30-06 Springfield, edging out the 308 Winchester by maybe 50 feet per second in velocity for comparable bullet weights and barrel lengths, but falling short of 30-06 performance. Surplus 7.62x54r does, of course, use corrosive primers, so you have to clean your gun within a few hours of shooting if you don't want it to rust all over. You need to clean the barrel and the action. Cleaning out the magazine's not a bad idea, but with a Mosin, it's really easy to clean after shooting surplus, so it's still worthwhile to shoot surplus out of the Mosin, but with my VEPR, I went on one range trip with surplus ammo Then I spent about an hour scrubbing out every last square inch of the rifle to deep clean it, and then decided, shooting surplus isn't worth my while anymore, so I got the 185 grain rounds from Monarch. I probably didn't need to spend about that long cleaning out my gun. The thing is though, once I start cleaning, I can be pretty obsessive about it. So I'm probably not going to be shooting much surplus out of a semi-automatic gun because you have to clean out the gas system too. But just to show you how frustrating it can be to have to clean out your gun after shooting surplus, I'm going to go through the disassembly of the rifle. It's been safety checked, but there's ammo floating around. Did any of it make its way into the chamber? No. Okay, so we are clear there. The optic slides off, detaching it from the side. There we go. This cover pops off just like a regular AK. Recoil spring. You pull it forward off of the rear trunnion. There's the dust cover that I mentioned earlier. And you just pull on the bolt carrier and it pops out of those two ridges. And you can take the bolt off of the carrier like that. So the major components are out. The gas tube can also be removed, but I'm going to take off the MOE handguard so you can see what it looks like and how the handguard adapters work to hold the handguards in place. So just take off the handguard retainer here with your screwdriver. This is the same way that the wood handguards attach. After many spins, the screw comes out. Don't lose that. Handguard adapter can go forward. They come apart just like the AR handguards do. There's also one piece right here that can hold the handguard in place. The factory handguard just jams right into the slot, but this is an actual piece that goes to hold the adapters in. In total, the adapters probably weigh about 2.5 ounces combined, maybe. I'm just guesstimating off the top of my head. I could be totally wrong and they end up weighing like 4 ounces, but whatever. The gas tube is removed if you spin up this latch, and I'm not gonna go ahead and take off the gas tube because this latch does take a lot of force. I have to use pliers. It's not designed to be removed extremely frequently. That's why it's such a tight fit, and I run a risk of deforming the tab further if I go in with pliers. So I'd rather not, because it's not necessary to the cleaning of the rifle. But if you are really intent on seeing AK gas tube removal, then I'm sure there is no shortage of videos on YouTube that talk about the AK gas tube removal. But I'm going to go ahead and reassemble the rifle so that, well, there you go. Take a look at the fire control group. Just like an AK one, it should be compatible with all aftermarket AK triggers. Take a look at the chamber and the giant gas tube. There you go. Can you look down the bore? I can't get it. I should mention that to get the MOE handguards to fit, you might need to do a little bit of filing in addition to cutting out the hole for the gas tube. You can see where I made some really jagged cuts. There is a tutorial on YouTube of somebody showing how to fit the MOE handguards on the VEPR, but he filed the adapter. I don't even have to say anything. I just have to facepalm. But moving on. Now that I've reassembled the VEPR, I'm going to end this video with a quick discussion on performance and suggestions for prospective buyers. The AK platform rifle's reliability needs no explanation or introduction, AKs, even though the original action was designed in the 40s and there have been many variations over the years, are still one of the most reliable weapon platforms on the planet. The AKs are manufactured with a lot of clearances, so there's a lot of play in the components so that it still functions even if there is some rattle. The rifle is overgassed by design, but the overgassing helps the bolt clear any debris that may develop in the action, and the returned battery is guaranteed by very heavy recoil springs. Wolf with 2 Fs, not the same Wolf as Wolf Ammo, makes a improved recoil spring that helps deal with some of the overgassing. So that's something that I would like to try. Ergonomically though, the AK platform rifle leaves a lot to be desired. The magazines have to rock into place. If you're familiar with actually most of the battle rifles except the FAL need to be rocked in. The M1A needs to be rocked in. The G3 might need to be. I know the FAL doesn't need to be, but the magazines need to be rocked into place, and the safety selector isn't in the best location, so you gotta manipulate it like that. Pretty much have to come off of your pistol grip to manipulate the safety. Magazine changes are gonna take long because the bolt doesn't hold open after the last shot. Gotta re-rack it. And the magazine release, like I just showed you, it's not like an AR with the push button. Some companies though do make an extended magazine catch that you can manipulate while still holding on to the pistol grip, but I think I'll just stay with the factory one. The accuracy of this gun, I haven't really bench rested this gun to shoot it for accuracy, but I can tell you that I get 3 to 5 inch groups with the modern Monarch stuff. With Surplus, I haven't really tried for groupings either. Some guys have loaded match ammo and shot it out of their VEPR and they get about 1.5 to 2 inch groups at 100 yards. So that's the reasonable upper limit that you can expect for the VEPRs in 7.62x54r. There is not as wide a selection of match ammunition or reloading supplies for 7.62x54 match ammunition as much as, say, the 308 Winchester, because you have to use a 311 diameter bullet instead of the 308 diameter. Russian 30 caliber is slightly different than American 30 caliber, so your bullet choice is very limited, and brass ejection from AK platform rifles is very violent. Did I say violent? Sorry, I meant violent. But some AKs eject the brass so forcefully that it mangles it beyond reusability. So I don't know how economical or worthwhile reloading can be, but there is some really good reloading data for guys that have shot Dragunovs in DMR matches and such. But the VEPR is a very good candidate to turn into a battle rifle, a DMR, or a sniper rifle in 7.62x54r. There's no wrong way to go about building your VEPR. You can leave it in the factory configuration with the stock wood furniture, or you can customize it with many of the aftermarket adapters. You can adapt AK handguards to the VEPR. You can make AK gas tubes. There's a lot of side mounts available for attaching optics. Just don't go with the dust cover type mounting optic, because those don't tend to hold zero very well, at least from ones that I've seen. Like I mentioned previously, I'm probably swapping out the wood stock for a Magpul CTR with the Canis M4 AR stock adapter. But yeah, 23-inch barrel VEPRs, 20-inch barrel VEPRs, very good candidates to make into DMRs. You can also consider the intermediate caliber VEPRs like the 5.56, 5.45, and the 7.62x39 VEPRs as tactical close-range carbines. They also make a hunter variant of the 5.56 with a 20-inch barrel and a beautiful stock that goes the whole length of the gun. They also have one for the 7.62x54r VEPR, I believe. But there's really no wrong configuration for a VEPR that I can think of. But how does the VEPR's performance compare to other era battle rifles like the M1A, the G3, but more accessible for the civilians like the PTR or the CETME made by Century, the C39 Sporter, I think it's called, something like that, or even the, I already said M1A, or an FAL. Probably pound for pound, inch for inch, all of those battle rifles are going to outperform the VEPR or the Dragunov in every single way. Those rifles are just much more ergonomic, built with much more accuracy in mind, using much more modern manufacturing techniques. But why get the VEPR though? Well, I can't buy an M1A, a PTR, or a FAL. I can only buy the C308. There you go, C308, not C39. I can only buy a C308, which I don't particularly want to. They don't get necessarily the best reputation. So that's also one of the reasons why I went with a VEPR in a battle rifle configuration as opposed to one of the other options. But what if you are in a state where you can buy any of the listed guns? Would you still want to buy a VEPR in a battle rifle configuration? I mean, my suggestion is, why not? Why do any of us gun owners want to buy anything gun related? We want it because we want it. Maybe we want a rifle that shoots 7.62x54r out of a 16.5-inch barrel. Oh, by the way, SGM Tactical is working out the kinks of a double stack to single feed VEPR 20-round magazine. The magazines are not interchangeable with the Dragunov magazines because the Dragunov magazines are double stack. So SGM Tactical, please hurry up with your 20-round magazines. So yeah, I mean, wanting something just because you want it is a good reason for doing anything as anything. But the VEPR in this configuration weighs, I think, 8 pounds 9 ounces with the optic. This optic, it weighs about 10 pounds and 11 ounces, if I'm remembering correctly. But there are many, many better modern battle rifles to be had, like the ones I've mentioned, and even more recent ones like the SCAR 16 and the, not the SCAR 16, sorry, the SCAR 17 and the Kel-Tec RFE. I'm sorry for misspeaking so many times. I've been talking for a long time and making this video. The Kel-Tec RFB even, that's a bullpup battle rifle. But the VEPR is really not a bad choice. It's just so satisfying just to manually cycle the AK action. So wanting a VEPR is definitely very within the realms of practical, and they're affordable now. You can get one under $900 in the long action configuration. But I've been talking way too much. Go buy your VEPRs, have fun. I hope this video was informative for any of you prospective VEPR buyers. I'm very satisfied with mine. I'm going to be featuring this gun in a lot more videos. Thank you guys for watching. My name's David, and I will see you in the next video.